So, let's get started.
Silence. Why do some people stay unseen in a world that never stops talking? Let me tell you something strange about silence in our noisy digital world. Every day, people share everything: birthdays, coffee cups, sunsets, even their sadness, but with filters that make pain look pretty. It's like everyone's performing for an invisible crowd, hoping to be noticed, liked, or loved. But then, there are the others, the quiet ones. They scroll through the noise, they watch everything, but they say nothing. No posts, no updates, no need to prove they exist. You might even know one of them. Or maybe you are one of them. And that's where it gets interesting. Why would someone choose to stay unseen when the entire world seems addicted to being seen? What are they protecting? Or maybe, what have they already figured out that the rest of us haven't? Invisibility. Why do some people stay silent online? You've probably seen them, the quiet ones online. They don't post selfies, they don't share opinions, and they never join the noise. They just watch. And the world assumes they're shy, antisocial, or maybe just not fun. But what if I told you that silence isn't weakness? Behind that calm, quiet screen is a psychology most people never notice. These people aren't hiding because they're scared. They're choosing not to perform. In a world addicted to attention, they're doing something radical. They're reclaiming peace. While everyone else chases likes, they chase clarity. While others shout, "Look at me," they whisper, "I already know who I am." It's not shyness. It's rebellion against a culture that measures worth by visibility. Control. Is silence actually a power move? Here's something most people don't realize. Silence isn't empty. For some, it's the ultimate form of control. It's not about being quiet. It's about deciding what the world doesn't get to see. Think about it. Social media celebrates the loudest voices, the ones who post everything, share everything, prove everything. But the quiet ones? They're the ones holding real power. While others rush to react, they pause. While others post without thinking, they watch, learn, and understand the game better than anyone else. They don't chase attention, they observe it. They don't need to speak to make an impact. Their silence is the statement. Observers. What if silence meant strength? You've seen them, the quiet ones who never need to prove anything. They don't post every thought, every selfie, or every meal. They simply exist, calmly, confidently, and almost mysteriously. And guess what? Psychologists say those people often score higher in self-control, emotional strength, and independence. They're not chasing likes. They're chasing clarity. They don't compare. They reflect. While everyone else is performing for validation, they're studying the show from the sidelines, learning what really drives people. They're not trying to prove who they are. They're trying to understand it. And in a world addicted to noise and performance, that kind of quiet, that's power. Illusion. Are you living for the lens? Let's be real. Most of what we post online isn't just communication. It's identity crafting. Every photo says, "This is me." Every caption quietly asks, "Do you approve?" We build a version of ourselves for strangers to like, one that's filtered, edited, and perfectly timed. But something wild happens when you stop posting. You stop living for applause. You stop chasing validation. And suddenly, the world feels different. You no longer see moments as content. You feel them as memories. You stop thinking in captions and start thinking in silence. That's when you realize the person you were trying to show off online wasn't the real you at all. Rebellion. What if silence is the rebellion? Here's the real secret about people who don't post. They're not hiding. They're rebelling. Not against technology, but against fakeness. They crave something real in a world built on filters and highlights. They're tired of the show, the pretending, the performance, the pressure to look perfect. For them, silence isn't emptiness. It's authenticity. They refuse to turn every feeling into content. They refuse to edit life into highlight reels. Because once you see how easily perception can be manipulated, you stop chasing the fake and start craving what can't be posted. Honesty, depth, imperfection, and truth. Burnout. Ever wonder why they vanished online? Some people don't disappear because they stopped caring. They disappear because they cared too much. There was a time they shared everything. Their smiles, their vacations, their thoughts, their wins. Until one day, it stopped feeling real. Every post started to feel like pressure. Every picture felt like performance. And every like started meaning less and less. So, they quit. No dramatic goodbye. No, I'm leaving social media post. Just a quiet fade into digital silence. But don't mistake that silence for emptiness. It's not that they stopped feeling. It's that they started protecting what matters. Sometimes the greatest act of self-care is logging out. Ownership. Do we lose moments when we post them? There's a powerful concept in psychology. It's called psychological ownership. It's that feeling when something belongs deeply to you. A memory, a photo, a moment. Something that feels too personal to hand over. But here's the catch. The second you post it, you lose a piece of it. It's no longer yours. It becomes public property, open to judgment, opinions, mockery, or even misunderstanding. That's why some people choose not to post. They're not hiding their lives, they're protecting them. They keep their moments private, untouched, and pure, not for likes, but for peace. Maybe that's not isolation. Maybe that's real freedom. Addiction. Are we all hooked on validation? Here's something wild about social media. Every time you post and someone likes it, your brain gives you a tiny hit of dopamine. That's the same chemical linked to reward and addiction. It feels good, right? Until it doesn't. Because over time, you stop living for moments and start living for reactions. You don't just experience life. You start thinking, would this look good online? That's how the trap forms. A loop of posting, waiting, refreshing, and chasing the next hit of validation. But here's the twist. The ones who step away aren't bored. They're free. They've learned to find happiness from within, not from approval. Psychologists call it an internal locus of control, and in today's world, that's almost extinct. Healing. What if silence is self-care? Not everyone leaves social media out of anger. Some leave because they're tired, emotionally tired. Silence online can mean one thing: healing. After years of posting, proving, and performing, they realize something powerful. They don't owe the world a show. They don't need to prove happiness to be believed. Somewhere along the way, we confused visibility with value, as if being seen means being worthy. But that's the biggest lie the internet ever sold us. The truth? Real happiness doesn't need an audience. Some of life's most meaningful moments happen quietly, unposted, unseen, but deeply real. Because healing doesn't always happen in public. Sometimes it happens when you finally stop performing. Homecoming. What if privacy feels like peace? Privacy isn't loneliness. It's coming home to yourself. When you stop broadcasting every thought, something incredible happens. You start hearing your own voice again. You reconnect with the parts of you that got lost in the noise, the calm, the clarity, the realness that doesn't need an audience. It's not isolation. It's a homecoming. Because your worth doesn't disappear when nobody's watching. It stays, steady and unshaken, like the soft hum of a quiet room after a storm. And in that silence, you finally remember who you were before the world got so loud. Reflection. If you didn't post it, did it matter? They say, if you didn't post it, did it even happen? But the truth? The moments that shape us the most rarely make it to the feed. Your heartbreaks, your late-night thoughts, your tiny victories. They don't need likes to be real. They live quietly inside you, in memory, not media. And that's enough. Because the ones who live quietly often feel life the deepest. They notice what others scroll past, the pauses, the warmth, the light, the laughter that doesn't need an audience. Their silence isn't emptiness. It's depth. It's confidence without the crowd. So next time you see someone who never posts, don't assume they're hiding. Maybe they're just living. Because in the end, we weren't meant to be performances. We were meant to be people. And those who live quietly remind us of that. In every unfiltered, beautifully invisible moment.
Before this video ends, ask yourself one thing. If no one ever saw your life online again, would it still feel meaningful to you? Because maybe that's the real test of peace. You don't need to post to prove you exist.
If you enjoyed this, like, share, and subscribe for the next one.